Hello, welcome to Learn, Do, Become Radio. I'm April Perry. Today we're talking about 5 things to stop keeping in our heads. And I'm guessing if you're listening to this, you have a mind that maybe feels a little more full than you'd like it. You'd love to have mental clarity, peace of mind, feel calm, wake up excited, and go to bed content. So welcome. If you're new here, at Learn, Do, Become, we help people who are overwhelmed by the details of life to create simple systems so they can do what matters most. And today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about our system and how it helps with the 5 things that we need to stop keeping in our heads. So if you want to see an image of our Command Central, the system I'm talking about, it's on the show notes page. You can go to learndobecome.com/episode 273. But I will describe things as well as I can in an audio way so that if you are listening while you're on the go, you feel supported and excited, and you can actually start putting these things into practice. And what I do recommend is that if I say something that makes sense to you and you think, yeah, that probably could work for me, go try it and then watch what happens. Because if you can try some of these little things and you get good results, then I promise you when you build your entire Steps to Everyday Productivity Command Central, our STEP Command Central, you're going to feel so good and you'll be so excited. So the podcast is designed to get you quick wins, but it's also designed to help you to move closer and closer to the life where you have no more piles anywhere in your life and you feel like you can really put your time and energy towards the things that matter. Now, having a cluttered mind is really, really common. In fact, whenever people ask me what I do, I actually like to respond by asking them some questions to see if they have the pain points for what I help people to solve. And so when I talk to people about these 5 things specifically, I find that most individuals, even those who are very successful, doing great, and generally getting along fine in life, keep these things in their heads, but not only do they keep them in their heads, they feel some kind of stress because they don't have an external solution. David Allen, best-selling author of Getting Things Done, helped me to understand our minds are for having ideas, not for holding ideas. But in order for your mind not to hold on to ideas, you need a trusted system where you can not only put them and know they're safe, but you know they will come back to you at the appropriate time. That's the key. As soon as you know it's going to come back to you, then you trust it and you move on and your mind is calm. Let's just dive in. Number 1, flexible tasks to do sometime this week. Do you ever say something like, oh, I'll call you later this week? Or, oh, yeah, I'll take the car in for an oil change in the next few days. That's very, very common for people to say things like this. Now, it's good because often when something isn't crucial, you don't have to do it tomorrow. You don't want to promise that you're going to do something on a specific day if it's not 100% needed on that day. So giving yourself space, saying sometime this week I'll do it, that's actually really nice because it's giving yourself flexibility, and then you can really focus each day on the things that have to be done first, and then you can fold in some of these additional weekly flexible tasks. However, what typically happens is people don't write these kinds of things down anywhere, or they don't put them into a system because it doesn't have to happen on a certain day. They don't make an appointment. It's not on the calendar, and then they just keep it in their heads. If you're nodding and you're like, that's what I'm doing, then I recommend you create a next actions list. If you look at our step diagram that's on the show notes page, the next actions list falls into the daily category. Even though it's a weekly list, so it's digital or paper, and it's home, phone calls, errands, computer tasks, and to discuss, or you can tailor those to meet your needs better, but those are the typical 5. The reason I have it in the daily section is because I check it daily. The list lasts for a week and I try to get the whole thing to 0 by the end of the week, meaning I don't put too much on it so that it's not overwhelming. But I do check it every day when time pops up. So if I'm out running errands before I head home, I look at my errands list and see what else do I need to do. If you can create a next actions list and then take all those things in your head that are for this week, I'm not talking about things you want to do 3 months from now, things you really intend to do this week, put it on your next actions list. Then as long as you just have it handy enough that you can remember to check it and you update it once a week during your weekly review, you're good to go. Number 2, things that require a follow-up. Let's say that you cancel an annual service and it should turn off in 3 months. Do you ever check to make sure it actually turns off? Okay. And where would you record that? Or suppose you spoke with a work associate who said, let's get together for dinner soon. Would you actually get together? Because so many people say things like that and they actually never follow up. That's when I usually get out my calendar and say, if you really do want to get together, let's just put on the calendar, because otherwise don't say that, because I like to plan. Now, if you are one of those people where you keep those things in your head, and so right now, maybe your shoulders are a little tense because you say, oh my goodness, I have so many things I need to follow up on. So-and-so said they were going to do this thing for me. I said I was going to do this other thing. I've been waiting to hear about this, and whatever that is. A simple calendar reminder on a digital calendar or inside a piece of project management software, or it could be a paper calendar if you use one of those. It can easily just be set to come back to you at the date where it would make the most sense to check in. And as long as you don't have a ton of random things that are also on the calendar taking up space, when you see this follow-up reminder pop up, you can actually check on it then. So I do this where if I have canceled something that is pretty pricey and I want to make sure they turn it off, then I would go and make a little calendar reminder saying, okay, the day after this thing is supposed to be canceled, I'm going to go check my statement and make sure that they did what they were supposed to do. Here's the thing. I had a friend who did not check, and it cost tens of thousands of dollars because it was something pretty big for the business. So you might think, oh, it's no big deal. And maybe it's not for you. If it's a $5 thing, okay, maybe not, or whatever the price range is that you don't care about. But if you want to make sure that things happen the way they're intended to happen, being able to just add a little calendar reminder and follow up is great. The reason I did make that caveat about how it doesn't work if you pile things on your calendar and all of your lists, that probably makes sense to you because you know the feeling when you open up either a digital calendar or a digital task manager and you have 573 things that are red, or overdue, and then you have 87 things you have to do today. Well, now your brain is like, yeah, joke's on you. This actually isn't important, because if it were, it couldn't be this far overdue. So when you tell your brain something's important, but then you don't act on it, your brain just stops believing it's important. So instead, having an open calendar that has just a handful of things. So when you look at your day, it feels very manageable, even though things are going to pop up that are maybe unexpected, or you might not, have the bandwidth that you thought you would. It's going to make such a difference when that list is small. The third thing that we need to stop keeping in our heads is personal goals. Now, according to research by Dr. Gail Matthews, writing down your goals makes you 42% more likely to achieve them compared to simply thinking about them. And I even heard that if you write them down and you tell an accountability partner, then it's like 90-something%. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was something like that. This is because the act of writing down your goals increases clarity, commitment, and accountability, making it more likely you will take action toward achieving them. So instead of thinking, I'm going to play the guitar 5 days a week, and then just counting on your head to remind you, if you can simply write them down as goals and review those goals during your weekly review or with an accountability partner or something like that, you're going to actually move forward. And literally when I talk to most people and say, where do you write down your goals? It's like, oh yeah, maybe I put them somewhere one time on a piece of paper or, something like that. I won't go deep into goal setting right now. We are talking about that in our Arise membership this month if you want to be part of that. Or you can look at our Create Your Year resource at learndobecome.com/create. I'll link both of those in the show notes. But the main thing that has helped me, not only to write down my goals, but to get them done, is once I record them, I make sure if I did it on paper, I take a picture and I put it into my daily reminders note. Or now my Evernote app lets me transcribe from my handwritten pages. So that's been super fun too. But you can either type it into a note, take a picture, have it somewhere. But I have a daily reminders note, and I don't look at it maybe every single day, but I'm looking at it probably a few times a week. And if I go a couple weeks and don't look at it, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. But this is where I keep my goals right in front of me. And every week as I'm planning my week and creating my week, I rewrite my main goals for the year. Usually I have like 3 or 4 main goals. And so that's what I do. Every Sunday, I sit down and I rewrite my goals and I look at my current projects list and I make that super focused. I'll talk more about that in a second. And then I create the week and plan what are my calendared items and my routines and my next actions. What am I doing this week to support my projects and support my goals? And as I just do that consistently, it takes a couple minutes, not a big deal. And a lot of times my life doesn't go as planned because I'm part of a beautiful family and I'm responsive to a lot of people and I have a community and things like that, that sometimes, new things come up. But for the most part, my goals all move forward and I can achieve them and they make my life better without stress or overwhelm. Fourth thing to stop keeping in our heads is big decisions we need to think through. What do you do right now if a really big but likely profitable investment opportunity comes up and you need to decide in the next couple of weeks if you're going to take it or not? Or what would you do if your child had an opportunity to sign up for a summer humanitarian trip and spots were kind of filling up and you knew that you needed to make a decision relatively quickly? You would likely need to speak with a spouse or a partner or a child, etc., about these things, but how do you actually remember to do it? This is where the to discuss section of the next actions list can work wonders. So on that list, digital or paper, the weekly list that we talked about earlier, one of those contexts is to discuss. So you could put a little note saying, hey, I'm going to sit down and chat with my spouse about this investment opportunity, or ask my child if they're even interested in going on this humanitarian trip. And so that gives you a specific place where when you have quiet time that opens up, or you're sitting down to have a little planning meeting, now you have those topics. You don't throw it at somebody when they're in the middle of something else or they're in a bad mood. And then you actually have that ready to talk about and you don't forget. Now, sometimes these things become projects. So, for example, if that investment opportunity really required extensive discussion, some research, you were going to have some calls with the people involved, like if it's a really big deal, like getting a house or something like that, that could go on your current projects list for the month, maybe in the family section. But the nice thing is, even though a current projects list lasts for about a month with 1 to 8 projects, if you get that project done quickly, let's say you decide in 3 days and you're done, now you can just move that from current to finished and you can add in your next current project if you want and if you have bandwidth. So I just want to emphasize that this current projects list that we have in our weekly section, because you review it weekly, it's there to serve you and it's there to help you have focus. But the projects don't have to last a whole month. I often update my current projects list weekly because I'm like, oh yeah, I am zipping through projects. And sometimes there's a project that's super long and it does take the whole month. And then I add it to the next month too because it took the whole next month. That's okay. But the big decisions that you need to think through, either having them on a to discuss list or on a current projects list, will be amazing for you. And fifth and finally for today, the highest priority projects you're working on that month need to be out of your mind. This is basically just adding onto the current projects list, but I wanted to give it its own because when I ask most people, what do you work on during the day? Either at home or at your job, like what are the things that you do? Now, typically routines are taking up most of our day. At home, I am, making food, doing the dishes, sweeping, walking the dog, right? And so most of what I do at home is routine. At work, most of what I do is routine, where I'm recording videos and podcasts and sending emails and updating programs and coordinating with our team and, engaging with the community, things like that. So those are mostly routines. When we get stuck, though, just doing routines all the time, we usually don't make specific progress on things. So when we have time to actually work, where it's like focused work and we're trying to do something that will move us or a family or, business or volunteer opportunities forward, that's where projects really make such a difference. And at the very end of our Steps to Everyday Productivity program, it's called, the final module is called Progress with Projects. Because once you have the system in place, being able to be empowered by completing projects that will change your life, that just makes me wake up so excited, because I just have to dream. Like anything I dream, then I can put into project mode and just go do it, right? And I don't always do things perfectly, and sometimes I have to tweak a project or learn more or whatever. But that's how we've built our business. That's how we moved to a new home. That's how we've made investment opportunities. Even right now, I'm changing some of our lights downstairs because it's wintertime here and it gets so dark early. And I took down all of our Christmas lights. I'm like, our house is so dark. So I got these little fairy lights, and I'm like, it's a project to search online. Where can you put fairy lights so they don't look weird? And how can we put them around our house so it has this nice feel? That's a little project that I'm doing inside of our home. But going back to the question, when you ask people, what do you work on during the day, home or work? Most people say, I don't know, just whatever's top of mind. Whatever wheel is squeaking the loudest, that's the one I work on, or whatever I feel like. The problem with that is if I only worked on what I felt like doing, I probably would start 175 projects, but never finish them. Because starting a project has a lot of energy and fun and optimism. But then you get into that messy middle, or you get towards the end and you're like, this is not fun anymore. Now this is tedious. I will go start something else that feels a lot more exciting. But being able to actually identify what are those next actions, how do you get them done, it's a big deal. So what I do recommend is, if you want to know what to work on during the day, is to sit down and plan your current projects. Between 1 and 8 projects for the month, organized by me, my family, and then beyond. Beyond represents volunteer or paid work. Because how would it change your life if you could put your projects for this month on a current list, and then any other projects you want to do, they are on next in line or someday, etc. Honestly, because when you have a spot to put the things that most people keep in their minds, it's just a game changer. Now you're going to feel like you are on top of things, like you're focused, and like you can actually do it. So I just send my encouragement and my love to you. We also just started our Step Momentum program, where it's an accountability group, and they're going through the Steps to Everyday Productivity program. We had the best call last week, where we had over 1,000 people sign up, but then we had over 300 people show up live for the kickoff call, which was so fun. And most of them were on screen. So I was zipping through the little Zoom screens, to see everyone's faces. And it was so fun to get to be, felt virtually all in the same room. It was so great. But one of the things that I asked towards the end is, how would you currently describe yourself organizationally? And this is where people are saying, oh, I'm just a mess. I'm a pile pusher. I am always disorganized, right? And the reason I ask that question is because oftentimes we label ourselves like, oh, I'm just not organized. I am just crazy busy and always just last minute, all that kind of stuff. But I want to emphasize that is not who you are. That's how you might describe yourself right now. That's not who you are. And when we can learn the actual strategies, the actual tactics, exactly what to do to get out of that overwhelm, then we'll do it. The problem is that most of us have just been in survival mode, applying the information that we had at the time. That's how it was for me watching my mom all I was growing up, moving her piles around. She'd try so hard to get organized, and she'd clean the kitchen, and she'd put little signs up, and she would try new things, but the piles always came back because she just didn't know how to create a system. And so I just want to send that out to you and let you know you can change the way you think about yourself when it comes to organization and really anything in life, right? And the little strategies I shared today, I always wonder, is it strategy or tactic? I think it's a tactic. Strategy is the bigger picture, right? Anyway, the things that we shared today, just these 5 specific things, I know it might seem like this podcast topic isn't that big of a deal. It's fine if I keep a few things in my head. I just want to emphasize that when you can learn how to take just these few things that you're probably currently holding in your head and start trusting them to a system, you're going to have this very subtle shift that's going to be incredibly powerful in your life. You're going to be sleeping better. Your mind is going to be able to rest more. You'll have less anxiety, and you'll just know that all the things that matter to you can get done appropriately, as it makes sense. I want to share just a few testimonials before I close up, because the testimonials are coming in so fast, and I have like 165 emails from Candace on our team who has been collecting the testimonials, and I need to process them. So I'm going to share 3 right now, and then I'll put them on the show notes page as well, just because I got to get these out there. These are so good. Okay, so first one's from Andrea. She says, gathered, processed, mind swept, put away. That's all she said. And you might be wondering, what on earth? But then she has this picture of 4 little baskets, little paper trays, because when we are in our Steps to Everyday Productivity program, we talk about levels 1 through 4 of your papers or your stuff, where level 1 is what you have to do like right now, like this week, down to level 4, which is like that can wait, it's dormant. You probably would never touch it again if we weren't doing this program, that type of stuff. But she had each of her baskets, and she has little labels on them that she created so you could know, okay, here's level 3 basket, right? She got it all set. And then she has the next picture below that shows the baskets all empty and stacked. And all those things that were in the baskets were processed and put away. And I know you must think, April, why do you get choked up talking about filing papers? Are you the most boring person in the whole world? But what I will say is it's not the filing of papers that makes me choked up. It's thinking about what's happening for Andrea as she's learning what to do with the stuff. Because these papers aren't going to breed and have more papers and end up taking over her whole life. She's learning how to handle the day-to-day stuff. And it's not just papers, it's digital files. Most people have so many random screenshots and digital notes and emails and messages. And they're just flailing and throwing them around and trying to hack it whatever they can, when they can. That's so stressful. But I look at what Andrea created and I just feel so excited. So I'll share these photos on the show notes page. And the next is from Diana. She said, I forgot to take a before photo, but I'm so pleased that I finished building my command central at my work office. Feeling hopeful that this system will work for me in my small business and boost my productivity. And then she has this beautiful photo of a very nice, simple desk with her computer and her planner and her inbox and her command central set up. And, again, I get so excited because I don't know Diana personally. I've never been to her home. I've never walked in her office. But I see that she's created the command central and I can see what it's doing for her. And now I'm just so excited that she can apply this to her new business, to her life. And what's so great too is, not everybody who comes in and builds their command central then is like, oh my gosh, I built it one time and I am just, all my problems in life are gone forever. Usually it takes some practice. It still does for me. I'm still figuring out how to make sure I don't overdo it, how to not step and try to take on other people's responsibilities, how to make sure that my load is appropriate for my health and bandwidth and emotionally what's going on. Like it's a continuous practice to figure out how to really do it. But when you learn the basics and you get them in place, you're just going to feel so excited. So I'll include the photo from Diana on the show notes page as well. You just got to go see it because it's so cute. And then she got like her Monsters, Inc. characters on the top, like a little Mary Poppins. So fun. Okay. Next and final one I'll share is from Marcia. And it says, I have made it to the beginning of a 3rd month with the program. No new piles of papers. The boys are taking charge of their own papers. My son even found right away a document he needed for Monday. My husband picked up his folder of papers and headed to his office and processed them. He said that I have inspired him today and that what I have been working on has made everything so much easier for him. He even said it gave him new hope handling our stuff and responsibilities. He never just compliments. I am positively giddy as a schoolgirl. A major project of creating a digital document of all monthly bills, subscriptions, and responsibilities took me 2 months, but it is complete. This will save me so much money. All due dates and amounts in the digital calendar, so nothing is late and no service fees. Things not used canceled and deleted. Long-term payment planned out. I have been able to close out several bills owed over time. I am so much more peaceful. I am so thankful. I am mentally tired now with the last push to get this done. I can rest. And then she has this really funny picture of a squirrel that says, "Help has arrived," and the squirrel is like reaching its hands up to heaven. Anyway, it was super cute. And gosh, when I picked these to share, I wasn't like all emotional about them, but just reading them like this, I can't tell you how excited I feel, because as I'm picturing Marcia, first of all, just hearing from her spouse, who maybe complimenting isn't his love language, or it's not like the way he naturally shows affection, right? But he's telling her, hey, what you're doing, all this effort, all this work, it's making my life easier, and I'm following your example, and look, I'm going to take care of mine too. Like, that's huge. Then the next generation, watching her son now able to find what he needs. Her kids are taking charge of their own papers. How awesome is that? They don't have to just throw things in piles. Like, that's how I grew up, was throwing everything in piles. I didn't know. And then reading what was happening with all the bills and subscriptions and all the payments. And now there's no more service fees, no late fees. That right there, it's just helping you to feel comfortable, calm, and empowered, knowing that you don't have to be stressed and you don't have to always be worrying that something is going to get charged and you're not going to, be on top of it and you're going to lose out, right? That feeling, that's terrible. But now she has peace and has that ability to do what she needs to do with more confidence. And when she said, "I'm mentally tired now," I'm like, well, yeah, you are. Look what you just did. 3 months, though. That's such a short amount of time when you think about it to change your life. So way to go, Marcia. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you to all of you. And I don't mind being backlogged on testimonials. So if you have a testimonial, will you send it in or post it in one of our groups or something? Because, it's like my fuel. This is, it's why I do this. If I was just doing a bunch of stuff and it wasn't working for anyone, I would have stopped years ago. But because we get these beautiful testimonials coming in every day, and I'm watching how your lives are changed. That's why I'm here showing up, podcasting, and trying to record videos and trying to help, because I wake up in the morning and I just think, how do I help my fellow travelers not to feel overwhelmed? And I imagine you coming in to Learn, Do, Become, and we're trying to make it easier and easier for you so that you can just feel really comfortable. I'm going to stop now, but love you, and I'm grateful you're here. And if you are like, what is she talking about at Command Central? Come to learndobecome.com/step. We have our introductory training, how to finally stop drowning in piles. And I'll have everything linked on the show notes page and all the testimonials and an outline of the 5 things I talked about today. So if you want to go to that, it's at learndobecome.com/episode 273. Okay, have an amazing week and keep up the good work. Get the rest that you need. Deep breaths. And it's going to get better and better and better. All right. See you soon at learndobecome.com.